Hi, I'm Dave Oates, Head Researcher at FinderMonkey. We recently completed our Facebook Live challenge over 10 days to answer as many of your questions as we could. We didn't get to answer all the questions, and some of them probably weren't suitable for a Facebook Live video because they didn't require very long answers. So what we're trying to do in this video today is answer 5 of those shorter questions in about 5 minutes if we can. So here we go. Question 1: are there any hidden costs? So I guess that refers to our searches. Hopefully the answer to that is no. When we first speak to you and you have your consultation, we take the information that you have and we're pretty good at assessing what you've got, so we know what service you need to be placed on, and then we can tell you exactly what will happen. Occasionally there might be a situation where we're looking for a person in the UK and find actually they're no longer here, and that we need to try and find them in another country. And how do we go about that? And usually there will be increased costs associated with looking overseas. If that ever happens, which it can do, we will always speak to you, explain what's happened, what we found, and it's always your choice whether you do continue the search anyway. So if that something like that did happen and there were to be extra costs in order for us to complete the search successfully, have a say as whether that's something you wanted to continue with or not, and we would also always give you the information. So it can happen, but generally speaking the answer would be no, because we'll have assessed everything at the start to hopefully get things right and give you a fixed price of what you will have to pay for a successful search. Next question: how many researchers do you have? Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 researchers at the moment, plus a few other staff who part of our consultations team, and sort of some admin and accounts people. But yeah, 7 researchers, including myself. So hopefully that answers that question. Not really too much more to say about it, I suppose, other than they do a mixed job. So there's Sue was our senior researcher. She's also had good at that, that's kind of her expertise. Although to be fair to Sue, she's also an excellent researcher as well, and she's been with us the longest. We've got others as well, but yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Next question: can you still find people abroad? I guess that goes back to the question we talked about before with the hidden costs. Yes, is the simple answer to that. We've got a network of agents all over the world, so we can find people abroad, and we've got a number of tried and tested techniques to find out where people have gone, where we don't even know what country they may have gone to. But there are also a lot of countries that are commonly connected with the UK, so a lot of people historically would have left the UK for Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA, South Africa, and more recently we find a lot of people moving to the continent, particularly people who retire to those kinds of places, Italy. And so we can still find people overseas, and as long as we can find out where they've gone, we can always do that because of the network of agents that we have around the world. So the answer is yes. Can you find more than one person at a time? I guess the answer to that is yes, of course we can. I mean, we currently have probably about 200 searches in the building at any given time. We are already juggling a lot of different cases at once, but there are people who come to us who want to look for 2 people at once. A common one might be somebody who was adopted, perhaps looking for birth parents. That could be one, or people who know that they've got siblings out there might want to look for more than one sibling. So it's very common for us to look for more than one relation at a time. We've actually got a search that's been ongoing for a little while. There's now where with a family that we keep identifying more and more people within this family. A number of children were given up for adoption, and I think there's about probably 8 of them altogether, and there's still 2 more that we've identified that we've yet to find, which we've just started the process to find them. So yes, we can find more than one person at a time. Hopefully that answers that question. Last question: can you access prison records? This is an interesting one. So if a person is in prison now, their data is actually protected. You won't find them on the electoral registers or any of our address data. If a person's been in prison for a long time, they won't appear on any records. So they will, to all intents and purposes, However, if you suspect a person is in prison, you can contact the prison service to ask if that person is currently in prison. It's a slightly strange process because you can ask them, but you have to provide all your details, name, date of birth and address. And if the person is in prison, they will ask that person, they will inform them that you've asked them if they're in prison, and it's up to them whether they confirm whether they are or not. So it's quite a strange process in that respect. However, if they're not in prison, they will use the prison service is not currently in prison. So it does help to confirm somebody's not in prison. If they are, it can become a little bit more complicated. Historically, you will find some genealogical sites will have some old prison records, and when I say old, I mean, you know, in excess of 100 years. Another good way to find information about people who've been in prison is perhaps through newspaper archives, but it can be difficult to find any record of somebody being in prison perhaps in the last 50 to 60 years, unless you can find a newspaper article that would indicate that. So hope that answers that question, but it's quite a difficult one, that, but hope I've answered it well. Thanks again for watching, and we will be back with another video soon.